Hello, Pacific Northwest Conference. My name is Eric Cave, and I'm your Director of Next Gen Ministries. Today, I get to introduce you to one of our new pastors. He's actually been around our conference for quite a while, but he's new in his position as the lead pastor of Cedarcreek Covenant Church. So, Nick Pringle, welcome. We're glad you're here. Why don't you give us a little bit of information about your personal ministry and background?
Yeah, hey, thanks, Eric. Man, so good to see you this morning and be here with you online. And my first call was at a Lutheran church and did that. And then my second call was in the Covenant Church at Pine Lake Covenant. And that was my first introduction to the Covenant, and was there about 12 and a half years doing youth ministry.
A long time.
Man, loved it. Great church, great people, great space. And so I felt the call to be a lead pastor. I felt God was growing things in me and saying, Nick, it's time to take that step. And so I applied at a church in Clear Lake, Washington, up north, about an hour and a half north of Pine Lake. And I served there for about 3.5 years. And then took a break from Clear Lake. And then Peter's son called me and he said, hey, Nick, I have a church I want you to think and pray about. And they're in Maple Valley and they're looking for an interim pastor. And my wife and I, we were like, oh, this is interesting. Let's pray into this. And so we did, and I accepted their call to be their interim pastor in August of last year, and then went through the interview process in December, and they extended the call in January for me to be their lead pastor.
That's excellent. And I just say it's been a lot of fun for me to walk beside you through most of that journey. It's been really fun.
Yeah. You've been a great friend, man. It's been awesome.
Yeah, you too. So tell us, what are you passionate about in ministry right now?
So one of the cool things with Cedarcreek is that they were meeting for 20 years in an elementary school. And they set up and tore down church for 20 years. And I am like so impressed by this church. Like, how did you do this for 20 years? And so we were meeting out in the park and doing worship outside because we didn't have a building. And we had conversations with New Life, and they said that we could rent on Saturday nights from them. And so in October, I believe it was, we had our very first worship service in New Life building, but it was the first worship service for Cedarcreek in a sanctuary.
Wow.
And I thought, oh my goodness, what a privilege to be standing with this church who have been longing for the day to worship in a sanctuary, and that I could be there with them in it. So for me, I'm excited for this new season, excited that in about a year or so, we'll own the building and it will be ours. And walking with this church to say, all right, who are we in this place and who is God calling us to reach? So we got some hard, big questions to ask, but I'm excited for it.
Good. Well, how can we be praying for you?
Thank you. That's a lot of leading in this next year. So if you could pray for me and God's wisdom, God's discernment, and unity in our church, that we might hear God well together. And also my family personally, we're going to be moving here in the next month. And so that's a lot of extra stress. We were able to purchase a home 10 minutes from the church.
Nice.
And I've been making that commute, that 2-hour commute one way for a year now. So I'm looking forward to that. So prayers for our church, that we discern God's leading, and prayer for my personal family that in that move. And there's a lot there. And prayers for new relationships for my kids and new ways of connecting that community. It'll be good.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I promise I'll be praying for you, and I encourage all of our viewers to put you in their prayer list and be praying for you as well. And thanks for sharing about your passion for church and ministry and what's going on there. As we typically do in these interviews, I like to have some fun and ask you some randomish questions for you to be able to tell us about yourself. These are just kind of quick fire questions. So Nick has picked these out ahead of time, and we'll go through them nice and quick and get to know a little bit more about them. So the first one is, what is one thing you couldn't live without?
Dick's Deluxe cheeseburgers.
Oh yeah, those are good.
So Dick's Deluxe.
Good. So where is your favorite place to be?
My favorite place to be is Leavenworth. My family and I, we love it. It's like Disneyland for us. Yeah, we're hoping to go in 2 weeks here. So Leavenworth is our favorite.
All right. What's your favorite thing to do?
My favorite thing to do right now is knife making. And many of you know it, but I do a little knife making chef
Nice.
knives for folks. And
Yeah, it looks good.
this brings me life and joy. So.
Awesome. What would you tell your self at age 13 if you had the chance?
Oh, 13 is such a hard age. Oh boy. Number one, I would give myself a hug. Just like, oh, the life ahead of you, my friend. And then what I would say is be you boldly and encourage to be who God made me to be, not who the world's telling me I should be.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, last one. What has been the most important innovation you've witnessed in your lifetime?
My favorite thing in ministry we've done was COVID really made us become innovative in how we do ministry. And I was trying to discern, how do we create safe spaces for folks to worship God together and still be safe? And so we were meeting outside outdoors, and I found that our elderly were not coming to worship because it wasn't safe for them, even outside. And I thought, what if there was a way we could create safe spaces in cars, ways that they could drive up in worship and hear the service and see and still be around people, but create that safe space in their car. And I have a neighbor who does the Christmas lights every year, and he does the radio station. And so you drive up and you turn your radio on and he plays the music. And I talked to him. I said, how do you do that? He said, it's easy. It's on Amazon. It's this little radio transmitter. I looked it up, $100. I bought it. We plugged it into our soundboard, told the people what radio station to plug into, and they drove up and worship, and they had their windows up, and it was safe for them, and they got to see and participate in worship. And I called them my holy rollers.
Well, Nick, thank you for sharing all about yourself. If you'd like to connect with Nick, follow the links that are going to be below this interview. You can check out Cedar Creek's website. I'll give contact information for Nick. If you'd like to reach out to him, take him out to coffee, you want to ask him about his go-kart, if you do so. So Nick, thank you so much for being with us today. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, thanks, Eric. And thanks, folks. It's good to be with you in this church family.
We did it.
Oh, I'm just kidding.